They said the system could never change. That power belonged to the few, that the voices of the many would always be drowned out. For centuries, politics was a game played behind closed doors until the people decided to break them open. A revolution isn't always fought with weapons. Sometimes it starts with an idea. One voice, then another, then millions. From the streets to the podiums, from whispers to roars. Change was no longer a dream, it was a movement. The birth of democracy. History doesn't belong to those who watch, it belongs to those who act. The leaders who rise, the rebels who refuse to bow, the citizens who demand more. Democracy wasn't handed to the people, it was fought for. The city-states of ancient Greece, the Roman Republic, the revolutions that reshaped empires, each one a reminder people will always fight for their right to be heard. But power is never given, it's taken. Every major shift in human history has been driven by those willing to challenge authority. The Magna Carta in 1215, forcing a king to acknowledge that even he was not above the law. The American Revolution, built on the belief that tyranny could be overthrown. The French Revolution, proving that the people, when united, could tear down an empire. Each of these moments was fueled by the same force, the demand for representation. But once the battle is won, what happens next? The illusion of choice. Politics isn't just about leadership, it's about control. For every democracy, there's a shadow. Figures pulling the strings, deals made in secrecy, alliances forged in darkness. Scandals, lies, fear, the weapons of the old world. They tell us we have a choice, but do we really? Elections are held, leaders are chosen, but policies rarely change. Promises are made, yet broken the moment power is secured. Governments rise and fall, but the system, it remains. Political parties present themselves as opposing forces, yet behind the scenes, many of their interests align. Corporations fund campaigns. Media outlets shape narratives. Public opinion is manipulated. In the end, the question remains, are we truly choosing, or are we merely selecting from a list of pre-approved candidates? The fight for power. History is filled with those who challenged the system. Some became legends, others became cautionary tales. Julius Caesar rising against a republic that had lost its way, assassinated. Martin Luther King Jr. demanding civil rights, silenced. Revolutionaries, whistleblowers, political outsiders, all those who dare to disrupt the status quo face the same resistance. Because the moment you threaten power, it fights back. But what makes someone a threat? The ability to rally people, the power to expose corruption, the refusal to be silenced. Governments have always had tools to eliminate threats, propaganda to smear reputations, laws to criminalize dissent, surveillance to monitor every move. And when all else fails, force. The people vs. the elite. A politician's greatest tool, division. Rich against poor, left against right, patriot against foreigner. Keep the people fighting amongst themselves, and they'll never turn on those in charge. It's an old trick, one used for centuries. But what happens when the people wake up, when they see the real enemy? The elite don't fear protests, they fear unity. Because the moment the people stop fighting each other and start fighting back together, governments tremble. History has proven it time and time again. The civil rights movement, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Arab Spring. But revolutions don't always succeed. For every uprising that changes the world, there are dozens that are crushed before they begin. Because those in power don't just defend their position, they reinforce it. The revolution of ideas. Not all revolutions happen in the streets, some happen in the mind. A shift in perspective, a challenge to the status quo. The idea that governments serve the people, not the other way around. Technology has changed the game. Social media, independent journalism, whistleblowers exposing secrets once thought untouchable. The truth is no longer controlled by the few. With every leaked document, every viral video, every investigative report, power is being redistributed. But there's a price. The cost of speaking out. Speaking out comes with a price. From ancient philosophers condemned to death to modern-day activists thrown in prison, truth has always been dangerous. Because those in power don't fear violence, they fear ideas. Ideas that spread, ideas that challenge, ideas that inspire. The fate of every whistleblower, journalist, and revolutionary serves as a warning. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, journalists murdered for exposing corruption, activists imprisoned for demanding change. But silence is even deadlier, because the moment people stop speaking out, oppression wins. The future of politics. The future isn't written by those who wait, it's written by those who act. Movements don't start with governments, they start with people. The student who refuses to accept injustice, the journalist who won't stay silent, the everyday citizen who chooses to question. Because democracy isn't a promise, it's a battle. And every generation must fight for it. But fighting isn't enough. Learning is key. Understanding how systems work, recognizing manipulation, teaching the next generation that apathy is the enemy of progress. Revolutions aren't just about tearing things down. They're about building something better. The final question. Now ask yourself, will you stand by and watch, or will you be the one to rewrite the rules? Because the moment you rise, the world will have no choice but to listen.